It is day 42nd of the war, and my colleagues Gaurav Samant and Geeta Mohan are reporting right from the eye of the storm, right where the war is going on, risking their lives, bringing you these ground reports. Gaurav, I want to throw straight across to you. You are joining us from Kiev. 42nd day, relentless attacks on Ukraine. Where do things stand?
So on the 42nd day, the situation does remain grim across Ukraine. Intense battles are being reported towards the south and the east of this country, where the Russian forces are pounding some of the locations held by the Ukrainian forces. The Ukrainian forces, according to information that's coming in from Donetsk and Luhansk, are hitting back. In Mariupol, the deadline for surrender has passed. There is some indication that the Russian forces are moving in bigger numbers and taking out all pockets of resistance. But this is in Mariupol, is what we hear. As far as Kyiv is concerned, Irpin, Bucha, Hostomel, these are three major pockets where international investigations are being called in to carry out a forensic investigation into all bodies that are being recovered and take statements and duly record video statements of eyewitnesses to the massacre at Bucha, Irpin and Hostomel. This is what the government here intends to do, is record it, produce forensic and scientific evidence which is admissible in an international court, and then take Russia to court for war crimes, as President Zelenskyy says. Now, India today has been reporting from on ground at Irpin, Bucha, and yesterday we were at Hostomel where we got that report of Mria, the AN-225, the world's largest plane, destroyed. Around that, Chaiti, are scenes of an intense battle. Remember, Hostomel was to be the staging ground for Russian operations towards Kyiv, and Ukraine fought back very hard. Not a single house in Hostomel has been spared. And imagine if there are like 5,000, 7,000 houses in that area. Every house damaged, every street shelled. That's the situation on ground. There are hundreds, literally hundreds of burnt armored personal carriers and tanks and troop carriers and private vehicles that were carrying soldiers, and intense battles that were witnessed over weeks in Hostomel, and not a single aircraft that now survives at the Antonov plant.
You know, this is horrific. And Gaurav, if you could also tell us, there have been many allegations of Putin committing war crimes, especially from US President Joe Biden as well. What do you see on ground? I mean, these are war crimes, and it's an attack on humanity more than anything else, isn't it?
Well, the attacks truly were massive, whether at Irpin or Bucha or Hostomel or several such localities around Kiev. And these are huge bustling neighborhoods and upscale neighborhoods with big houses, all of them destroyed and shattered. Cars damaged, people killed, and a large number of people missing. For example, yesterday the mayor of Bucha indicated that there were about 200 to 300 people still unaccounted for. The mayor of Hostomel said there are about 300 people that are still unaccounted for. The mayor of Odessa and Kherson are talking about people still missing and people being taken prisoners by Russia. But, all of this needs to be backed by evidence that can be produced in a court of law. What US President Joe Biden has been saying, even before the Bucha truth came out in public domain, President Biden had been calling President Putin a war criminal. So in an international court, it won't be just the West or Ukraine saying something. They will have to back it with evidence. And there is evidence of a massive loss of life. There is no denying that fact, that there has been massive loss of life. People being caught and killed at close quarters. Some images have been put out by the Ukrainian government with men, women. In some instances, I have seen pictures of children in a state of undress, young girls in a state of undress, their hands tied and killed. That is why international investigators are coming in here to carry out forensic investigations, post-mortem reports, to be able to put together a report that would talk about what actually transpired in Irpin, Bucha, Hostomel and several other localities and areas in those 3 to 4 weeks of intense battles that took place post 24th of February till the 30th of March.
Gaurav, continue to be with us right there. Geeta Mohan is joining us live from Donetsk. Geeta, at this point of time, the world seems to be divided into two blocks. And what about India's stance? Are we maintaining neutrality?
Well, the Indian stand is very clear. There has been unequivocal condemnation of the killings of civilians in Bucha as well, with the images that were released at the United Nations Security Council. Indian permanent representative to the UN, Ambassador Tirumurti, very clearly said that sovereignty and territorial integrity should not be violated, and that killings of civilians is absolutely condemnable. But the fact is that there was no naming of Russia. Russia was not named in India's statement. That goes to show that India is still trying to be very careful in what it puts out. I'm in Donetsk, Chetty. There are civilians in Donetsk, in the Donbas region, who are also impacted, who've also been killed at the hands of the Ukrainian forces because of the shelling and the crossfire between Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine considers Donbas region a part of Ukrainian territory. The world recognizes that. Donetsk and Luhansk are breakaway factions that have now been recognized by Russia, which means this entire region is supported by Russia. And Ukrainian shellings continue in this area. If they consider them their citizens, then there would have been some sort of a thought when it comes to the kind of actions that we are seeing over here. The action is moving eastwards. The action is here. Yesterday, we were caught in one of a huge attack by the Ukrainian forces into a camp of the Russian forces. They managed very bravely to pull out all their assets out of that out of the camp. But the fact is that there is loss of life on both ends. Yeah. War crimes, genocide is something that will have to be investigated, proven, and then only responsible channels like ours can really say that a country has indulged in war crimes.
Right.
A Rome Statute is something that even the United States of America has pulled out of. So a lot in terms of layers of what the international community really thinks about war crimes and taking responsibility.
Oh, no, that's a very interesting point, and thanks for clarification on that technicality as well. Now, there are burning tanks, there are detonated mines. Ukraine has launched an offensive in Donetsk as well. Have they managed to reclaim the lost areas in Donetsk from Russia?
Chetty, could you just repeat your
I'm saying
question?
As Ukraine continues its offensive on Donetsk, has Ukraine managed to reclaim the lost areas in Donetsk?
Well, two very important cities in Donetsk, bordering Donetsk, part of the Donetsk Oblast, where referendums were held and they wanted to be part of Donetsk. The breakaway factions are Mariupol and Volvonakha. We showed you, Chetty, what happened in Mariupol. Today we're showing you what happened in Volvonakha. The fear fight between Ukraine and Russia has completely demolished that entire city. People are waiting in long queues for food. They've been living underground in basements for days on end. And these are territories now which have become strongholds of the Russian and Donetsk forces. No land has been given up. But what we hear is that there's a fierce fight by the Ukrainian sides in Mariupol. Now, Mariupol is not taken completely. 70 to 80% is under Russian control. The other 20%, which also includes a huge steel plant, is still under the Ukrainian control, and Ukrainians are now trying to really fight hard to reclaim territory. But as of now, as of today, that hasn't really happened.
Taking this across to Gaurav as well. Gaurav, the EU Commission of Chief is also likely to visit Kiev this week. Any kind of a plausible resolution, talks, what's going on? Because, none of it is really working out at the moment.
You're absolutely right. So European Commission leadership will be in Kiev. There are several ambassadors, including the ambassador of Turkey, who are returning to Kiev. We're told several embassies want to reopen their office in a sign that situation, at least in Kiev, to an extent is returning to normal. But as Geeta was telling us, in Mariupol, that fierce fighting is intensifying. The Ukrainian forces are not giving up. They're not giving up Mariupol at all. It's that steel plant, and India Today has reported from that area on ground in Mariupol, where the Ukrainian forces were amassed in numbers, and that's their staging camp to launch a counteroffensive into Mariupol town to retake, pockets and territories from the Russian forces. And when you ask them, is this possible? Well, the officer we spoke to yesterday at Hostomel said at one point of time, Russia was also in control of at least a pocket of the Hostomel airbase, but Ukraine did not give up. They fought every day, every hour, and the scenes on ground show you those intense tank battles that took place. The Russians had dug in their trenches, the Ukrainians dug in their trenches. It's almost like Second World War warfare happening in 21st century Ukraine, where Ukrainian forces then mounted a series of counterattacks using their Javelin anti-tank guided missiles to destroy Russian tanks. And there are a number of Russian T-72 tanks that have been destroyed. Armored personnel carriers, the Tungushka's surface-to-air missile systems, they've been destroyed. And both sides kept fighting until the Russians could not replenish their resources at the Hostomel airbase. And the Ukrainian army says that they destroyed the Russian forces at Hostomel. They were hunted down and killed, is what this officer told me as we visited Hostomel yesterday. Even today, Chaiti, in Hostomel, there are bodies that are still lying around. Perhaps they will now be lifted from the debris, but inside tanks, inside armored personnel carriers, there are remains of bodies still inside, and that shows how fierce that battle was. So if that was the situation in Hostomel, you can imagine what the situation would be in Mariupol, where where of course in one pocket is now, according to the Ukrainian army, they've been able to retake that territory, and there are preparations for operations in Kherson, in Odessa, and several other parts of the south and east of Ukraine.
Well, Gaurav, Geeta, thank you very much for joining us live on this particular broadcast. Both of you, please stay safe, and thanks for all those inputs right there. The Russian attacks on the Donetsk region has turned into dust, but Ukraine also won't back down. Ukrainian missiles have reduced Russian military camp into rubble. Schools destroyed amidst fierce resistance. India Today's Geeta Mohan is bringing this ground report right from the war zone. Take a look.
Massive shelling, massive operation over here in Elyanka. You can see there, smoke still billowing. This entire camp was attacked. It had a lot of tanks, armored vehicles, Ural trucks, and artillery carrier vehicles as well. Has been attacked. So officers over here trying to now assess the situation. They're trying to retrieve all the armored vehicles, artillery carriers and tanks as soon as they can, and save as many as they can. But if you see over here, the situation pretty bad. The forces have moved out of here and they're trying to retrieve as many as they can. This is also a base camp where captured Ukrainian tanks and armored vehicles were brought in and then were sent for repair and then to be reused. So a very important camp over here has come under Ukrainian attack. I'm being joined by Officer Ilya, who will explain what really happened over here and how are they trying to contain the Ukrainian forces.
Дальнейшие наши действия идти вперед и только вперед, не останавливаясь. Занимать непосредственно, возвращать непосредственно границы Донецкой Народной Республики. Как говорится, в свои земли.
So the only action he is planning now, he knows that we're gonna continue to push and taking back our grounds, which is must be under public control.
There was major shelling over here. Now, what is the sounds? What are they doing? Are they diffusing? Are they detonating? What are they doing?
Сейчас звуки хлопков происходят. Сейчас это Что это происходит сейчас?
Это непосредственно это сейчас в данный момент происходят действия наступательного характера.
So, okay, let's wait a bit, okay? So the thing is, you're asking about what is happening here, but it's not the thing you want to ask now, at the moment. So let's do other questions, or...
Okay, so ask him how many Ukrainian soldiers were they? This was his force, his team. How many Ukrainian soldiers did his team capture?
Есть у вас вообще за время операции, были украинские пленные у вас?
Да, были много десятков, потому что наш полк уже порядка 17 населенных пунктов, это не считая те, которые мы прошли, 17 населенных пунктов мы взяли боями.
So they took around 17 villages and small...
Надо прекращать.
Okay, let's stop it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
डोनेत्स्क की तरफ जा रहे हैं और कुछ अभी भी यहाँ पर हैं जो अपना घर छोड़ के नहीं जाना चाहते। वोल्वोनाका में गीता मोहन आज तक।
We're here in Volvanaka, a city absolutely destroyed. Irina is a resident. Irina, tell us your experience of what really happened over here. You're living over here 24th of Feb.
From 24 to 10, 12 of March. It was very horrible. What else? A lot of жертвы.
Victims.
A lot of victims, child, old people, young people.
Lost their lives. How many people left Volvanaka after the attacks? Did they leave the city?
Some lived, but returned, partly returned, and I think now from 5 to 10 thousands.
People are back?
Yes.
Why? The city is destroyed. There is no life right now in the city. Why are you returning?
Because it's my home. I had here work. I had my house, but some partly destroyed, and I think.
You want to rebuild it again, I guess.
But no, so soon as we want.
Okay. Irina, we know that this city, many consider part of Donetsk. Ukraine considers part of Ukraine. But right now, it is under the Russian control and control of Donetsk. What is your opinion of what has happened and what's the situation on the ground? Right behind you is what you call Red Square. The Red Square comes from Russia. So, destroyed. So, explain what was the leanings over here of people? How did they think?
I can say only about my opinion.
Yes, please give your opinion.
My thoughts. My thoughts, course of Russian is absolutely right. Yes, for me it's very painful because my town is destroyed absolutely. But Ukrainian government I don't like. I didn't like from 2014.
Did you suffer a lot in 2014 also? Did Volvanaka?
Yeah.
Major evacuation operation being undertaken over here in Volvanaka. The people over here will be evacuated to camps in Dokuchayevsk, which is a city not very far from here, only to ensure that they're in a safe place, have food, have shelter till the time the city in all probability is reconstructed. So there is a process in place. People's names are put on a list, and those whose names are on the list are taken by buses. This is one such bus, but there are many buses that ply from Volvanakha to Dokuchayevsk, and a lot of youngsters also leaving. They have not much to do because the city is absolutely distracted. But yes, there are people who are not willing to go. They want to stay over here and start rebuilding, reconstructing. We see a lot of cleaning that also is happening in the streets, and there was a major movement of tanks and armored vehicles of the Russian and Donetsk forces from Volvanakha to someplace else. So there's a lot of movement of security forces as also evacuation of civilians and citizens over here in Volvanakha. With it, a destroyed city that requires humanitarian aid and food. The queue that you see over here are of people of Volvanakha who have queued up to receive their daily bread. This is a van that has come to distribute bread to the people of Volvanakha. There are various other vans that come with other food items, but food is scarce. There is no gas and electricity in Volvanakha, and water also becoming rather scarce in the town. So they're using it with really economically. Economic usage of water, food in very little supply, so they're trying to be very, very careful in how they use their food supplies, and administration trying to ensure that at least there's some help that is provided to the people of Volvanakha who've decided to stay on and not leave the town. So this is the first day we have arrived, so have the people from Donetsk. Food for Life is now going to provide food every day. But how difficult was it? If you could ask this gentleman over here, how difficult was it for the days when this food was not being provided?
Тяжело очень было, очень.
It was very hard, he said.
How are they managing food then?
Как вы справлялись? Откуда брали еду?
Ну, запасы, которые бы оставались, вот, те запасы и ели.
So they used supplies they had and share it between each other.
А сейчас, которая привозит, ну, еду, вот, питаемся ей, потому что больше запасов нет.
They now out of supplies, so they can eat only the things can be brought in by organizations, by help.
Okay.
Пытаемся работать, вот, зарплаты пока нету. Проработали уже почти месяц, зарплаты нету.
So people came to their work again and they're waiting for salary now.
What's your name?
Дима.
Thank you, Dima. So food being supplied over here. People are coming to get their food. People have run short of food supplies. That's why they're waiting over here to get whatever they can. The irony of the conflict today. What you see behind me is called Red Square, taken after the Red Square in Moscow in Russia. Many people over here are still pro-Russia despite the destruction that their city has witnessed. And unfortunately, this Red Square has also fallen victim to the latest conflict. But the people over here say that in 2014-2015, they consider themselves part of Donetsk. And once it was taken over by Ukraine in the 2014-2015 conflict, the statue of Lenin was taken down on the other side. And today we see that the Red Square also no longer stands. So the situation over here, quite bad. But the conflict is also within of people who are living in Volvanakha, who are pro-Russia or pro-Ukraine, and the ones who are pro-Russia are sad about the city being destroyed, but not sad about not being under Ukrainian control anymore. When did this food start coming to the city?
From 2 weeks ago, maybe even earlier, I don't remember.
Are you a student?
Yeah, student from Kharkiv University, Kharkiv National University, KPI.
Oh wow! So when they announced the operation, did you then immediately come to your home to Volvanaka?
We have distant learning, and I was in Volnovakh. So when the operation starts, I was in Volnovakh.
You were in Volvanaka. Otherwise, you're a student in Kharkiv.
Yeah. I'm from Volnovakh, but learn at Kharkiv. Yeah.
Today, why are you still here? What do you want to do? Do you want to rebuild the city? What is it that you want to do?
Here, I don't have a place where I can live, where I can go. I don't know, because I must learn now, but in Kharkiv this difficult situation too, and no, I don't know where I could go.
Your entire family is here. Is your house destroyed, or is it still there?
Still there, but my entire family almost here. Only one is left to his family.
You see destruction everywhere. Are you angry that your city is destroyed?
That's hard to explain, but it's war. It can be rebuilt from. It took years maybe, but it will be rebuilt. I hope so.
Почти с того света вытянули. Спасибо людям в белых халатах. Низкие поклоны. С Докучаевска. Очень благодарю. Очень.
Her husband was evacuated to Dokuchayevsk, and he was saved by doctors there. So she's saying big thanks from her to doctors who saved his husband's life. She wants to find him because she did not have connection.
Is she alone here?
Вы сейчас здесь одна?
Нет, я сейчас с дочкой. У нее семья, разбомбленный дом. Она у меня пока находится.
Her daughter house was destroyed, and now she lives with the daughter in her place because her house is okay.
The extent of damage over here shows what really happened in Volvanaka. This is a BMP-2 destroyed, homes bombed, shelling marks on the walls. To take Volvanaka, it took a lot of fight between the Ukrainian forces and the Russian forces. Homes over there, school, absolutely destroyed, bombed. This again is a city that bears a deserted look, but there are still a lot of people who are not going to leave the city of Volvanaka. They're determined to stay here to rebuild the city. Many others who have no place to go. And then there are those who have already left Volvanaka. With video journalist Satya Rautre in Volvanaka, Geeta Mohan for India Today.
India Today's reporters have been at the front line in the middle of the action on ground zero to get you the most realistic, most comprehensive view of the Russia-Ukraine war. My colleague Gaurav Sawant was at Hostomel Air Base, just outside of Kiev. Hostomel came under Russian attack in the initial days of the invasion. Gaurav Sawant reporting right in front of the AN-225 Mirya, the largest aircraft in the world that has now been reduced to a mangled mass of metal. Take a look.
Over 40 days of war, and this is what remains of the Hostomel airbase. Hostomel was home to AN-225 Mirya, the largest aircraft in the world. Ukraine's aviation pride has now been reduced to a mangled mass of metal. It's clear the world's largest commercial plane, the Antonov AN-225, will never fly again.
The AN-225 Mriya, the world's largest strategic airlift aircraft, here destroyed in front of us. We are at the Hostomel Air Base. This is the hangar of Mriya, which has unfortunately become its grave. A number of bombs fell here, destroying Mriya, the strategic airlift aircraft of the Soviet era. Look at the 6 engines, 1, 2, 3 on one side, 3 on the other. Now look at, just compare the size of this massive aircraft, small aircraft next to it, and then this massive aircraft Mriya here at the Antonov Air Base. Now, this from the Soviet era had a history. The largest plane to be built. It's a strategic airlift aircraft, the only one of its kind that flew, and it was an attack on this base.
Nicknamed Dream, Antonov AN-225 has turned into a nightmare for the world of aviation. Its fuselage is a charred and twisted gaping hole. Its gigantic wings are slumped to the ground, and one of its engines burned and destroyed.
I'll show you both the port and the starboard side, the right and the left side of this aircraft, and we'll walk along. The surface-to-air missile defense system parked very, very close. An attempt to save this aircraft. Perhaps they tried everything that they could to save this, but we are trying to get closer, though we've been warned against this. Shiv, we've been warned against this because there could be a lot of unexploded bombs or bomblets here even now. But just take a look. Once this aircraft had, big buses inside, big bogies were inside, and with the 6 huge engines. I mean, just Shiv, look at this engine. Unbelievable. Look at this powerful engine, now just destroyed. It's surreal, Shiv. It's unbelievable what's happened to this aircraft. A piece of history now.
The airfield is littered with destroyed Russian hardware, including trucks, tanks, armored personnel carriers, and spent munitions.
We'll just walk around and show you the base. Now look at the number of rounds, unexploded bombs and bombs that are lying here. For example, this bomb here. For example, all the ammunition that is lying here. The tanks, Shiv, we'll just show you those tanks. The armored personnel carriers and tanks that are lying here. Just walk around, Lalit. Just show them the place. Lalit. Those are some anti-aircraft guns that are put there that have been completely destroyed. And Shiv, this just gives you an idea of the kind of battles that have taken place to attack, defend, capture this place. That's a T-72 mangled remains of what was once a T-72 tank. That's a BMP-2. The army, the Ukrainian army is also now here. They're actually, flying drones also to know the kind of damage that has been caused to this place. You also have an S-300 system, or what remains of an S-300 system from its command post here to the missile tubes that are there, also destroyed in very precise Russian attack. This is the Antonov airfield, the main hangar. There are other aircraft inside there. That's the administrative building. Up there, as you can see, is the ATC. Lalit, that's the ATC, the air traffic controller. There, some other missile tubes and anti-aircraft guns are over on the horizon that side. But all around, just images of destruction, massive destruction caused to this place.
The Hostomel airfield, just outside the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv, was among the first strategic targets of the invasion of Ukraine. Russian Mi-8 utility helicopters launched airborne assault on the Hostomel air base just days into the war. En route Hostomel, the scenes are not very different. The suburb of Irpin reveals the horrors of war.
What we want to show you is the destruction here on this bridge. This is a very crucial bridge that connects Kyiv to Hostomel, and look at how this bridge has been targeted. Look at how vehicles are now trying to cross this bridge. Whether it's trucks, tanks, armored personal carriers, all targeted, all destroyed in Hostomel. That you see, that's the road. This is River Irpin, as this signboard here tells you. Hostomel is one of the most critical areas as far as the Russians were concerned. They wanted to take over this airfield, and several special forces missions were launched. Several attacks took place on Hostomel. The aim was to capture Hostomel and then move forward to target Kyiv, but that mission did not succeed. And look at the destruction here of this bridge. This is how this bridge was targeted. This prevented the Russians from advancing forward towards Kyiv. Several such bridges were targeted by the Ukrainians themselves to ensure that the Russian forces do not move forward. Now, this is also the place where Mriya AN-225, that largest plane, was destroyed. India Today is the only team to be getting you ground reports from Hostomel. Look at this vehicle which is attempting to go. It's very risky. Some vehicles have gone. These are relief vehicles that are now entering Hostomel. Their aim is to be able to look after those who were trapped inside. And there are reports of death and destruction even here. Look at how this vehicle is trying to negotiate. The bridge is tilted. We walked across this bridge. It's completely tilted, and that vehicle is finding it very tough to cross this place.
In some areas, not a single home is left standing.
We are currently inside Hostomel, and you can look at the level of destruction in this place. It has to be seen to be believed. Look at this mall. Look at this building. We are driving through Hostomel. As you see, every building shattered, every house completely shattered, cars on the road completely either in flames or shattered. Look at this. The level of bombing that took place in this area has to be seen to be believed. Look at this mall. It's destroyed. Look at these row houses, completely destroyed. Row houses, one after the other, shelled. All the cars outside completely destroyed in the shelling that took place. And Hostomel is one of the key areas that was targeted by the Russians. They wanted to control this, make this the staging camp, the launch pad for their operations inside Kyiv. And that is why this area was repeatedly targeted. India Today is now getting you exclusive reports from inside Hostomel, and we're traveling along with officials of the Ukraine army. They're also coming here for the first time themselves as they retake territory. What you also see strewn all along the roads here are bombs, and some exploded, some unexploded ammunition, and also well, in some areas, bodies that have now been lifted. If I show camera person Lalit Mohan Joshi, just shows you these houses this side. Look at the destruction on both sides of the road here in Hostomel.
Ukrainian forces have taken control of these key areas, claiming it as a significant victory over the Russians. But the scars of battle remain. With Gaurav Sawant in Hostomel, Bureau Report, India Today.